These individuals would later become leaders of the Communist Party of Cambodia, more commonly known as the Khmer or Rouge, meaning red. Communist Khmer, in addition to embracing ideas of nationalism. These future leaders also studied the communist teachings of Lenin and Marx, which shaped their ideas and plans for their nation's future. From independence to democratic Cambodia, as Cambodia was trying to find its footing as a newly independent country, the dynamics of the Cold War were already in full swing in the scramble for power and security. The US, the Soviet Union, and China all struggled for influence and control over smaller countries. One of the places where this competition was most intense was Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos, which were collectively known as Indochina under French colonialism, became enmeshed in this struggle as they wrestled free from colonial rule. Post-independence in the Sihanouk years, 1953–1970. After Cambodia achieved its independence in 1953, the country's king Norodom Sihanouk gave up his crown to his father so that he could become Cambodia's head of state. Sihanouk was a charismatic character with a taste for writing music, and especially filmmaking. He was also ever adaptable to the changing tide that continuously swept through his nation. Many Cambodians generally recall the Sihanouk period as a time of harmony and cooperation. And he did much to expand education in Cambodia and build up and modernize the capital city of Phnom Penh. But his 17 years of rule were also a time of vast corruption and social and economic inequality. The division between the urban areas and the countryside became more severe, while the cities developed into modern cosmopolitan meccas offering education opportunities to their residents. Life in the countryside for the much larger number of peasants was relatively unchanged. In addition, the Cambodian government under Sihanouk did not tolerate ideological and political dissent, including dissent by communist groups that were forming within the country. The Vietnam War, US bombing, and 1970 coup. In addition to his mixed record in managing Cambodia's internal affairs, Sihanouk's success in handling the larger global forces swirling around his small kingdom were also mixed. His period of rule roughly coincided with the Second Indochina War, also known as the American War in Vietnam and as the Vietnam War in many Western countries. This conflict began in 1955, escalated in the 1960s, and ended when the US withdrew from South Vietnam in 1975. This conflict was a proxy war between North Vietnam, which was supported by the Soviet Union and China, and South Vietnam, which was supported by the US and other non-communist allies. The North Vietnamese, under the leadership of Ho Chi Minh, sought to create bases and supply trails through Laos and Cambodia in order to send troops and supplies to their supporters in the south. This route became known as the Ho Chi Minh Trail. While this was happening, Vietnamese communist forces also sought to support Cambodia's communist movement, which included the Khmer Rouge. The US became increasingly enmeshed in this war through successive presidencies. Shortly after he took office in early 1969, President Richard Nixon launched a secret bombing campaign codenamed Operation Menu, aimed at destroying North Vietnamese bases and supply lines that were being run through Cambodia. Through the tumultuous post-independence years, Sihanouk pursued a policy of neutrality between the communists on one side and the Americans on the other. At the time, however, some had suspected that he was showing preference to the communists, because by allowing the North Vietnamese to set up bases within Cambodia. Amid these growing political tensions, Sihanouk was ousted in a bloodless coup in 1970, while he was out of the country.